Lindsey Williams fixing to be right again. Junior, when we get home, remind me to punch your mama in the mouth. Seriously, though? A little something I read from CNN today. You know, one of the globalist mouthpieces. Now, we were told in the 1970s there was a gas shortage. We didn't have any kind of oil and gas. And oh my God, we have no choice but to deal with these terrorist Middle Easterners because they've got oil and we're just going to have to deal with it. And people didn't like that idea until they made those gas shortages take place on purpose, by the way, as Lindsey Williams explained. Then, you know what? That's a great idea. Where do we sign up? Those guys aren't so bad over there. After my government's been telling me they're terrorists for all these years, they've got oil. They're our friends. And what did Lindsey Williams say? We only did that to extend the fiat U.S. dollar, and we told them, OPEC, you will sell oil for nothing but American dollars. We will make sure you have more profit than you wanted. And on top of that profit, we will give you additional profit based on the price of gas. And you will use that additional profit to buy treasury bills, U.S. bonds, the 30-year ones, etc. And they did. And anybody in the whole world who wanted gasoline, oil, had to have American dollars on standby in order to purchase them, thus enabling the U.S. dollar to be the world's reserve currency, in which it is being phased out fairly rapidly as we speak. And Lindsey Williams said, we will default on the $16 trillion debt. We will default on the debt. The Middle East will be furious because they're sitting on a pile of worthless bonds and dollars, etc. And they're going to say, we're not shipping you oil anymore. And we'll say, oh no. And then immediately turn around and say, oh my God, we just found all kinds of great oil here in America. We've got multiple places, heaven bells are ringing. And the oil's been there this whole time. And all these high gas prices and all this gouging that's been going on for all these years never had to have occurred because we had the oil right here. And it's because of this globalist New World Order agenda that they've got to pull off. It means you got to suffer and deal with those prices and deal with the Middle East and deal with all this crap. So here's the story, because Lindsey Williams said when we find this oil, we will have so much oil in America we won't know what to do with it. January 14th, 2013. That was yesterday. America, the Saudi Arabia of tomorrow. Title. We pay a lot of attention to revolutions when they emerge suddenly and violently. But when a transformation arrives gradually and peacefully, it's easy to miss. Let's stop for a moment and take a look at a slow motion development changing the world as we know it. The United States is giving up its addiction to foreign oil. For decades, we bemoaned the awful toll this addiction has taken. The need for oil and natural gas, much of it from Middle Eastern dictatorships, shaped the foundation of global geopolitics. It created morally questionable alliances and repeatedly placed Washington in a position to choose between its fundamental values and its economic interests. Now all that could change. What do you mean? What do you mean all that can... Now all that can change? What about peak oil? I've seen all these charts. Peak oil, peak oil. And the professor said it would happen in 1970s. And right on the year he said it would happen, we had the oil shortages. Peak oil. No? You're not buying it? Well, let's read on. When President Obama started his first term, the country faced stiff economic headwinds. Now, as he prepares to start his second term, the country enjoys a rare and unexpected tailwind, propelling it in one of the most important areas with a host of positive implications. Clearly, the booming American oil and gas businesses are not problem-free, but the benefits, economic, geopolitical, and environmental, of this impending energy independence far outweigh the drawbacks. So hold on, let me make sure. I may not have read that right. Clearly, the booming American oil and gas businesses. Really? I mean, I haven't heard of any great massive discoveries, including the ones Lindsey Williams said we will be hearing about when we pull that trigger of defaulting on the debt. But somehow we are in a booming situation. And I went on to read this. It's a very lengthy article, by the way. And I'm just going to read a very extreme tiny amount here, pieces of it anyways, that I've chosen and picked. But it said, we are going to become the world's greatest exporter of oil and gas, and it could happen as early as 2017 and become a net oil exporter by 2030. We could be #1 producer on the earth by 2017. Says right there on CNN. The globalist propaganda machine spewing out what Lindsey Williams already said would be happening. So this is a prime example of start to release the little, what I like to call the pre-news. All the elite agencies, you little news companies that they own and run, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, AP, Reuters, start pushing this story out. Just a little bit. Get that in the ears and eyes of people. Start letting them hear about America and oil and a lot of it, and don't give them too much information, but just start pumping that out there to get them used to it, so that when we default on the debt, it won't be some big shocker that we had a whole massive amount of oil on standby. And hopefully, just hopefully, people will forget that they got screwed by the government of America. Our people in this country, America, got screwed by the American government on their little backroom deals with the Middle East that never had to occur in the first place. All these years, gas prices up, gas prices down, gas prices up, gas prices down. And for the last several years, gas prices up. And that's another thing Lindsey said. They'll be bringing the prices prior to this whole collapse of the defaulting of the debt. He said that they would bring the price of a barrel of oil to at least $150 a barrel, again, like they did in 2008, and possibly $200 a barrel, somewhere between there, and maybe even a little bit higher. But bottom line, over $150 per barrel, which would cause the price of gas to go to $6, $7, and $8 right here in America. And we would be begging for relief. Oh my God, we can't pay this gas. We're going to destroy the whole economy. They'll default on the dollar. The Middle East will say, screw you guys. No, we're not selling you oil anymore. And then we'll miraculously find a nice pool of oil, or 2 or 3, massive proportions in size, and we'll start tapping them. The drill rigs are already in place, as he said and proved, Lindsey Williams. The USS, or whatever it was called, the U.S. Liberty rig, not USS, I think it was the U.S. Liberty oil rig. Largest rig ever created. And they pulled it up to Alaska in the precise area he said the oil was at since I found Lindsey Williams in 2007. And very recently, as in 2011 technically, they moved this new rig over there to just sit on standby, basically. Just waiting for the key events to take place and turn it on. And the worst part about it, unless we do something, you're not going to see $1 or $2 gas prices. You're going to see $4 and $5 gas prices, because you'll be begging for anything when you're paying $6, $7, and $8 a gallon for a little while. That's going to drive you insane. You'll be begging for anything cheaper, and they'll give you it at $4 to $5 a gallon. That's what he said their plans are. And it could be 60 cents, 70 cents, 80 cents a gallon all day long, because it's already been tapped. It's already there. It's just been hushed up since the 70s. That's why we have to get the information out. So here is CNN doing its New World Order duty and just giving you a little flicker of thought and change of, hey, for one thing, clearly the booming American oil and gas businesses are not problem. Booming? CNN, what do you mean booming? I thought we needed gas in the Middle East. We can't have booming gas and oil production here out of nowhere. Or are we tapping those reserves Lindsey Williams said were already there on standby? And I thought also somewhere in this article that as of last year, we were like a net exporter of gas and oil for some reason. So much for the oil shortage and the peak oil theory, huh? Peak oil is nothing but a scam and a lie so that people would think we needed that oil somewhere else. So that whole lie will be busted wide open. And they'll say, well, no, it was true at the time. It was true at the time. We didn't know that there was these different oil reserves. So it was true, but we found some new ones. And then 10, 20, 30, 40, whatever years will go by, they'll probably do the same thing again. People will forget because that's what they count on, people forgetting. But as long as the internet's available, videos, YouTube, you name it, people won't forget. And that's what I'm counting on for humanity to wake up. Ultimately, it's going to take years for this to happen, and to where they get to a point where they can't be deceived anymore, because they'll always be able to go back on the internet, find the source of information to say, hey, wait a minute, you already did this before, and call them on it. So just wanted to share that with you. Take care.